A murder investigation involving two co-workers at a Sherwood Park paper plant in 1994 was flawed from the start, with the RCMP mistaking the execution-style killings for industrial accidents. Then the court case against their suspect fell apart as well. It would take years before the public knew just how far investigators and the Crown went in the effort to convict Jason Dix. Here now is David Ewasuk with our latest story from the crime tapes.
The October 1994 double murder investigation into the deaths of James Dieter and Tim Ewasuk began poorly for the Mounties. It ended even worse. Dieter and Ewasuk were repairing a baler at a paper recycling plant called CPL on the edge of Sherwood Park, and when one of them didn't arrive home, his wife had a neighbor drive her to the work site. That's when the body of her husband, Tim Ewasuk, was discovered, and nearby the body of his younger co-worker, James Dieter. Early speculation from the first people on scene was that it looked like the two men died by electrocution. From there, first responders started echoing that as the cause of death, and finally RCMP officers as well were repeating death by electrocution. By the time an autopsy was done 36 hours later, the police had already given the crime scene over to occupational health and safety. The coroner found both men had suffered 3 small caliber bullet wounds to the head, execution style. How was it missed? We found out at court years later, a story we've stored away on our crime tapes.
When the bodies of James Dieter and Tim Ewasuk were discovered, those on scene called it electrocution. Corporal Donald Drizel was the most senior officer to arrive at CPL packaging plant on October 1st, 1994, long after many others. At 9:41 p.m. he talked to paramedics, EMTs, plant employees, and initial officers. It took all of 2 minutes. On the stand, he admits all of those people I talked to for a few seconds. Under cross-examination, Jason Dix's lawyer asks, "How long did you observe the bodies?" His reply, "A few seconds, sir." Within that 2 minutes, Drizel phones Occupational Health and Safety to tell them of a double electrocution. Today, he attempted to avoid our cameras, standing beside a court constable as they left the building through the underground parkade.
I have no comment on my testimony.
About the time frame of when you got there and the phone call that you made?
No, I have nothing to say at this time.
Drizel was a constable at the time Dieter and Ewasuk were murdered. He's now a corporal. This is the man who was in charge of the Sherwood Park detachment that night. He made the decision not to go to the crime scene. He also released electrocution as cause of death before the medical examiner discovered bullet holes in the two men's bodies. He was reprimanded by superiors for both actions.
The reprimand, the 2-part reprimand, did that come as a shock to you? Sir?
Just told you I wasn't answering any questions.
Okay.
Corporal Randall Marchand retired in 1997. He did not end his career in the Sherwood Park detachment.
Despite the errors at the crime scene, investigators quickly identified a suspect, Jason Dix, a man who knew both of the victims. A motive? Perhaps that James Dieter, the younger victim, had been socializing with the same woman the married Dix had been having an affair with. The theory continued that Tim Ewasuk may have simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Nearly 2 years after the slayings, the Mounties laid murder charges and made sure the media got pictures of Jason Dix. Here now is my old colleague, Graham Neal, covering court back in 1996.
Jason Dix was wearing the same t-shirt and shorts he had on when he was brought into custody yesterday. He showed no emotion as 2 first-degree murder charges were read to him. Dix glanced briefly over at the packed courtroom before being led away. The whole matter lasted only a few minutes. Dix did not enter a plea. The families of the victims say it's the first time they've ever seen the man.
We don't know a motive. We have no idea who this person is. Don't know how he knew my husband or James at all.
Tim Ewasuk and James Dieter did in fact know Dix. He worked for a scale company that had a contract at the plant. When he was working there, he had to report to both Ewasuk and Dieter.
The families of the 2 victims would wait nearly 2 more years for Jason Dix to stand trial in the killings of Tim Ewasuk and James Dieter. Far from a conviction, Jason Dix's trial would start to uncover the lengths the RCMP and the prosecutor were willing to go to in their effort to have Dix found guilty. The controversial investigative technique that the RCMP employed against Jason Dix is called Mr. Big. Basically, an undercover sting operation designed to get confessions in cases where police lack evidence. Mounties pretended to be gangsters, and once they got friendly with Dix, they dangled easy money for him to be a lookout during what was actually fake criminal activity. They pretended to murder someone in front of him, even let him watch as they counted out $1 million in real money, all to get Dix to make admissions to the so-called head of the crime ring, Mr. Big, about his involvement in the deaths of Ordzik and Dieter. Jason Dix seemed scared by what they were doing, but the Crown wondered if he'd been tipped off. In the end, he admitted nothing. They did no better with an 11-hour-long interrogation captured on video.
Are you a parent? I asked you a question. I'm a man. Don't insult me. Did you understand what I said?
On the advice of my lawyer, I have nothing further to say.
Answer me, you parent!
While police lied to Jason Dix, they also lied to his 4-year-old son. On top of it all, they kept Dix in the remand center for nearly 2 years. During his criminal trial in 1998, a well-known prosecutor in the case misrepresented a letter at a bail hearing claiming it was written by a jailhouse snitch, when in reality it was authored by police officers. The prosecutor stepped down, and within months, all charges against Dix were dismissed. Here now is my former colleague, the late Janice Johnson, covering the case on the day it ended.
Jason Dix allowed himself a small smile as the judge dismissed 2 first-degree murder charges due to lack of evidence.
Wonderful. It's been a very long time. I had absolutely nothing to do with this.
This was like a national black eye for the RCMP. They were dogged in their pursuit of Jason Dix. So, we feel betrayed. We feel betrayed by everybody involved, the justice system and the RCMP.
Spending 2 years in prison, losing my family, my wife and my daughter and my son, who I haven't seen my 2 children for over 2 years.
There's been a suggestion, well, it's been hard on all the families involved, including the Dix family. Well, Jason Dix is home now, isn't he? And Dieter and Ordzik aren't coming home.
While the loved ones of the victims felt the Mounties had failed them, Jason Dix told us investigators had done him wrong as well. At that point, no one knew everything police had put him through behind bars, in an undercover sting, as well as those lengthy, loud interrogations.
Not once did I ever confess to anybody about this crime because I did not do it. It's a totally different view from the outside than it is from the inside.
Outside the remand center, Jason Dix can reflect on his life today, walking freely, no longer behind bars as the prime suspect in the murders of James Dieter and Tim Ordzik.
The only thing that kept me going was, my family, the Lord, my friends.
And he says he found God during his 22 months in jail. A lack of evidence led to his freedom, but the realization of what he's lost in 2 years has sunk in. Foremost, his wife and 2 children.
As far as, wanting to see my kids, yes, I do. As far as the marriage between Lori and I don't think there's any chance of ever getting back together.
He says his formal complaint against the Crown prosecutor stems from a letter allegedly presented as evidence from a jailhouse informer.
In fact, it was written by the police. I just want this brought forth so that it can be documented and people can know about it. It's been a rough road.
And ultimately, Dix would do much more than complain about the Crown. He decided to turn the tables on his accusers, filing a multi-million-dollar civil case for malicious prosecution. It showed the public just how far the police and prosecutor went to try to get their man. Once the Crown dismissed the 2 murder charges against Jason Dix for lack of evidence, he hired a lawyer for a civil case. Dix filed a $14 million suit against many of his accusers for malicious prosecution. Here's what it looked like when the judgment in that case came down on our crime tapes.
I had absolutely nothing to do with this, and, you know, I go to my grave with I had absolutely nothing to do with it because it's the truth.
He's been saying it for years, but police and prosecutors were never buying it. A judge, though, has ruled that for the anguish he received from investigators in the Crown, Jason Dix will receive nearly $765,000. Dix wanted a lot more. He wouldn't speak to the media today, but his lawyer says Jason Dix is happy.
Jason was going to be here. He was here, and he feels that he would rather spend some time with this judgment. He's authorized me to say to you that he's satisfied with the judgment. He's pleased with the judgment and appreciates the work of the trial judge in putting it together.
Dix was always the main suspect in the deaths of James Dieter and Tim Ewasuk. The 2 men were originally believed to have been electrocuted on October 1st, 1994 at Crown Packaging Limited. An autopsy revealed police were wrong. Both men were shot in the head at close range. The case would prove to be a lesson in futility for the Sherwood Park RCMP. A long and expensive undercover operation had officers posing as gangsters, showing Dix $1 million in cash, pretending to commit murder, and yet yielding no confession.
Are you a parent? I asked you a question. I'm a man. Don't insult me. Did you understand what I said?
On the advice of my lawyer, I have nothing further to say.
Answer me, you parent.
Once arrested, Dix continued to deny any involvement in the double murder. The police interrogation, 11 hours straight, was described in the judgment as nothing short of disturbingly surreal.
Are you taking it? If we're taking this, it's without my knowledge. Look at me. Look at me. If we're taking this, it's without my knowledge. Look at me.
Dix would be held in jail for nearly 2 years. During his trial, there's allegations prosecutor Arnold Piragoff misrepresented evidence. That's when the case fell apart. Alberta's Justice Minister says mistakes were made, but there's no word if they'll appeal or pay the money.
It looks like things were done, judgment calls were made, decisions taken which ought not to have been by the prosecutor that was involved.
Dix was paid a judgment of nearly $765,000 for malicious prosecution. It was a far cry from the $14 million he'd asked for, but still a major win and a second black eye for Mounties who fumbled the crime scene from the start. Justice Keith Ritter in his decision said both police and the Crown were cloaked in malice in this case. Jason Dix, he moved away to Saskatchewan soon after. The Mounties continue to use the Mr. Big scenario in their undercover investigations, and as for the families of the victims, no one else has ever been implicated in the murders of Tim Ewasuk and James Dieter. Thanks for watching the Crime Tapes.